Mark, welcome.
Great to be here, Kory.
Long time coming.
Yeah, it's one of those things we probably talked about for how long, but even before podcasts were really like a big thing. And here we are on one.
Just for some background, this will mostly be a conversation you and I would have anyways, but we have the fun of recording and sharing it. You and I going on 25 years of friendship, knowing each other forever. You were best man at my wedding. Of all the accomplishments you've had in your life, football, professional sports, coaching, somehow you've ended up with the world's worst handwriting. What I mean by that is I have a signed Iowa football from you. And if you can see that, that's one thing. I also, in our bedroom, you and I are both Jewish. In the Jewish religion, at the wedding, you sign what's called a ketubah, or a marriage license. And I was stupid enough to ask you to sign mine. Right next to Blair and I's bed is this beautiful signature scribbled on our wall, and I look at it every day.
The ketubah one's a little better than that. I tried to take a little more effort with it. Still very terrible and resembling a 3-year-old.
My 3-year-old writes better than you already. Mark, this is going to be a lot of fun. Known each other forever, back when you had a lot more hair and a lot less muscle. If I think back over the last 25 years of being friends, and for context, we're both 33, so we've known each other our whole lives. There's 2 songs that summarize our friendship. One is You Can't Make Old Friends by Ben Rector, and the other is See You When I See You by Jason Aldean. And when I think about our friendship, we haven't lived in the same state, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo Grove specifically, since high school. You're out chasing your dreams, your athletic career, and your coaching. I'm out chasing mine with my life, my business. And you and I have always said to each other, I don't know when the next time I'll see you is, but I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah, that is a good way of putting our friendships. We've never been in the same place, but we always kind of knew when we talk next or when we see each other next, it'll be like we haven't skipped one beat whatsoever. We go right back to where we were and where we are in life. Whether that's 1 month, 3 months, 2 years, whatever it might be, it's see you when I see you. Might be tomorrow, might be in a year. You never know.
We've gone years before that seeing each other, and totally agree. That's back to the can't make old friends. You know someone so long, you've grown up together. We've gone through heartbreak and life's best experiences and worst experiences together. You're the closest thing I have to a brother. It's a special thing. My wife, Blair, gives me a lot of crap over why I'm not interested in making new friends. I always tell her, you can't make old friends. Even if I started today, you have a 25-year leg up on any new friend that I'm going to meet. And it's not just you and I. There's a small group of us from growing up, and it's a pretty amazing thing to watch how life has taken us, and we've always stayed. All of us have stayed connected and close, even through all the changes and distance.
Yeah, it is special. Our friendship specifically, but then if you look at our group, when I tell people about who I'm going to hang out with when I'm home or wherever it might be, is like, oh, I've known this person since kindergarten, 1st grade, 5th grade. Like, huh? You're still friends with that person? And you have many of them? So it is a special thing. And I don't think many people can say that. We're still going strong with a lot of our friends is pretty cool. A testament to where we grew up, parents, and definitely sports is a commonality between all of our friends that we all did play sports, whether depending on what level, whether it's you ended in 8th grade or you ended in high school or college. That's definitely been a commonality between all of us.
We're going to sound like old men, but we grew up in a generation before technology and people getting glued to their phones. And us and the group of guys we're talking about from back home, you grew up playing baseball, football, basketball, going to each other's houses, just messing around. I'm hoping that the next generation, watching my 3-year-old who isn't there yet, but I'm really going to be pushing her to try to have those kind of friendships, because you can't make new ones. It's sort of an invaluable thing. One of the bonds you and I have that we've never really talked about, it's just always kind of been, that we have this beautiful dichotomy in our relationship where we either say nothing to each other or we're having like serious talks. You're one of the only people that I know who hates small talk more than I do.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like if someone were to ask us, like, what did you and Kory talk about? Like you guys had like a 3.5-hour car drive together, whatever it might be. I'm like, nothing. Just talked once in a while, maybe listened to some good songs. We're in our own thoughts. Every 30 minutes we'd have a conversation. The small talk is, it definitely is harmful in a lot of aspects. Like I know what my body language is when there's small talk. and it's not good and I need to change some of that, but I don't know if I ever want to change completely. And we do have some, it'll go from just, we haven't seen each other for 3 months. And then we're in the most serious conversation that I've had is in 3 months with anyone that like whoever it might be. So,
Nice.
um, yeah, no, we're too similar in that aspect that sometimes there is just silence because neither of us have anything important to say at the moment. So,
We've said this metaphor before. There's an old saying about best friends could sit on a porch step together for an hour, say nothing to each other, and get up and walk away thinking that was the best conversation they'd ever had. I think about our relationship and the millions of times we've had experiences like that, and then the real talks when there's heartbreak or life changes or serious decisions to be made or career stuff. You know, you and I always seem to zig and zag through life and find each other's back there. That's a special thing knowing that, you know, you have a friend like that. And when I think about you, there's this concept of strong beliefs loosely held. Do you know what I mean by that? And some of the examples are you are one of the most stubborn motherfuckers. I don't know if I can swear on this, but I guess it's my podcast. And it's gotten to a point where when I know you've made up your mind, I just stop trying to change it because I know it's not going to. But at the same time, as stubborn and strong minded as you are, you also reserve space to change your mind. And that's something I really respect. You want to speak to that philosophy?
yes, give me the examples. I'll say a couple things.
So you're leaving high school and you decide to go into the Air Force. And I tried to talk you out of it, and your mind was 100%. So he goes. Then you decide that isn't for you. You change your mind. Then you go to Iowa. Then you're going to be a strength coach. You're all in on that. Some things change. Then you're a personal trainer. Some things change again. Now you're with the Chicago Cubs. You know, athletics has always kind of been the through line, but you've changed your mind. And there's times where you're all in until you're not.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely consciously do now where I have strong beliefs and I have values that will hopefully never change in my life. And those values I will hold strong forever. But almost everything else is up for grabs with new information, better information. I'm not scared to say I've made tons of mistakes in my life. I've said stupid things that you can't take back. I've done a ton of things that way, but I've learned from those things. And then I feel long enough minded to change my mind. So Air Force, a good example is I'm 100% in on it. It's what I want, not just for football, but for life. I thought that's exactly what I want to do, only to realize that I care about football more than I care about anything else in life at that point in athletics. And it wasn't the best place for me. So I'm going to change my mind. I'm not too scared to say I failed at something, or I'm not going to be so stubborn to say that I'm not going to make that mistake. And I'm just going to continue to do this in spite of, instead of changing the mind and doing something better for me or somebody else. I've changed my mind on most things: philosophy, sports, politics, religion, wanting to be married, not wanting to be married, kids, not kids. I've changed my mind on a lot of it is for good. It's not easy. I don't change my mind just like that, but I am a lifelong learner. I am always searching for new ways to look about things. And sometimes I have to admit I made a mistake, which comes into changing my mind. So strong beliefs loosely held. I definitely have very strong beliefs. Doesn't mean you can't change those beliefs, especially if somebody is attacked of like someone I really love or something I really love, like there'll be super strong beliefs. Those go hand in hand with being able to change your mind and having strong beliefs. Life changes. We all change how we think with life experiences. So if I were to say I thought exactly the same as when I was 18 and then 22 and then 26 as I am now, means I'm not getting better either.
That attribute is a strength, not a weakness in terms of leadership. There's people that just make their mind and won't change it. They're so committed, they just won't change their mind for the sake of it. And I think the strong belief held loosely is a great thing. You're not the same kid you were when you were 15, 18, 30. And there's that old wisdom, a man never steps in the same body of water twice because the river's moved and he's not the same man. It's a great thing that more people need. Your level of commitment to go all in on things and focus is second to none. And so when you're in one of those moments where the strong belief loosely held and you're starting to change your mind, you're so committed to something, how do you grapple with, the two opposite forces? Committed, I said I was going to do this and I have to do it and I have to see it through and I'm in the middle of working hard and maybe this is just discipline versus actually this isn't for me. I need to change my mind and make a change.
There's two big parts to that. One, so I don't forget it, because I've had many hits to the head from football. You have to know when to throw in the cards. I'll use a poker example. You have to know when to fold them. It's hard to know exactly when that is because you committed. You've put a ton of money into that pot. You're not all in yet, fully all in. You still have some chips left. But you realize that I can't win this. Can't bluff out of it. I can't win this. I went all in on something that I should not have. Instead of going down with the sinking ship for no reason and just go down, sometimes you have to make that realization something has to change, which comes the really hard part. One of my biggest fears is embarrassment. Going all in on something and then inherently failing at that thing is embarrassing. So people will say, all right, I'm going to continue to do this because I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm just going to go all in and hope for the best at this point, that something is going to change, even when there's almost no possibility of that happening. So embarrassment will be another thing that's going to cripple people. Goes through my mind. I went all in on this thing. I said I was going to do it. I'm committed to doing it. I'm so focused on it. But is this something I can't do or don't want to do and is not best for me selfishly? And then am I too embarrassed to admit that to anyone else because that would call me a failure because I said I was going all in and doing this? So you have to grapple with those things. And we are all selfish human beings, even if we are the most selfless people to the people we love and like do kind things for other people. To survive in the world, you have to be somewhat selfish and realize what is best for you. In the moment, sometimes that decision you make might not be what is best for you, but you think it is. And then that stubbornness and that focus and commitment goes into that change and then what that next thing is going to be. But that's really hard to do. I don't know why I have been able to do it, whether for good or for bad. Maybe I've stopped and quit some things that I should have kept focused on. You can always learn from and change and move on from that. And I have.
Why are you afraid of being embarrassed?
The embarrassed part of it is being unprepared for something. Easy example. Someone calls you, hey, I want someone to come and try this new thing. Well, I want to be prepared for that thing because I want to win and I want to do the best at that thing. And if you're the first person to go do that or the one that they're going to use as the example, and it's the first time you've ever done something like that, you're probably not going to do well. I've tried to change that to a degree and like be that person that still wants to go. I do want to go first in a lot of things, but I also want to be prepared when I am, which goes against what I just said. It's counterintuitive, but it goes with the embarrassed part. It's not caring about what other people think. It's about me not succeeding at that thing embarrasses me. Not that I care that people saw that. It's about me being embarrassed that I wasn't able to do it.
You being embarrassed and failing, is that a way that you think of yourself or a standard that you're holding yourself to? What is the next level deep? I don't think it's you're afraid of what other people are going to think of you. I don't think you give as much stock to that as it might sound, but it's something much deeper. You're making a promise or a commitment to yourself or a standard that you hold Mark Weisman to. Is that the next level? You're breaking a promise you made to yourself.
Yeah, it's a promise I made to myself, or just like you said, the standard that I have is the highest of all standards. No one will ever have a higher standard for myself than me. So my standard would be dominating this or succeeding at it right away. Even though it doesn't happen right away, I had time to prepare. So like I had time to prepare for that test. I had time to prepare for the group I'm going to go coach. I had time to prepare to go beat Iowa State. That's what you had time to go prepare for. And when you don't, and then you're put on the spot there, you embarrass yourself, that's a fear. So I want to always be prepared. Also knowing that that's not possible to be prepared for every little situation, but you train your mind to be prepared for those types of things. So that's where I think the fear of embarrassment comes in. And it's the fear of being unprepared.
We're going to weave back and tell your story here for some more context and jump around from childhood to your playing days to present day. One of the stories that sticks out to my mind, we were 13 at the time. We played baseball together, highly competitive travel baseball program. You were pitching and I was catching, and you were doing terrible, throwing the ball all over the place, walking guys, and you were losing it. Your mental composure was just red everywhere. And I'm catching. I can see that you're getting pissed off. And I tried to like call timeout and come talk to you. You basically told me to go F myself. So that I go back and we're best friends. So now I have to mess with you. As you're throwing pitches, I am throwing from catcher back to the pitcher as hard as I can back at you. And you're catching it with your bare hand just to prove a point to me. And so I'm throwing it as hard as I can and as hard as I can. And one of the coaches is like, Kory, stop doing that. You're going to break his finger. And I'm like, no matter how hard he throws, he's going to catch it. And so maybe that's why baseball didn't work out for you. But it's kind of funny that you've come full circle today with working with the Chicago Cubs. Before we get to that, sophomore year of high school, in my mind, is really when you became you. You disappeared after freshman year. You were a skinny Jewish kid, always great at sports and athletic, but you appeared sophomore year huge, muscular. You made a transformation in such a short amount of time. What was going through your head at that time?
To go with the story, I always had trouble early on. It was first crying, then rage. When I was younger, crying, then rage. And then football, starting in 6th or 7th grade, started to teach a little bit about how do I channel this, because you can physically now do something on the field. You can physically do things to people, and like it helps channel that. And it's definitely why baseball was not the thing. I love basketball. I just was way too short for what I was. But that's why baseball, like at that time, was never the thing. The way I think now is probably way more conducive to baseball. That year changed of like, I was always committed to certain things, and like I always wanted to be amazing at something. If like I'll set my mind to it, I want to try and do those things. I really like football, and the way that Stevenson High School ran the offense was through the fullback, and the fullback was usually a bigger guy. So I'm 130 pounds and faster than most, but not fast enough to be blazing and be that guy that's just going to run around people either. So, all right, what is going to be my best way of playing varsity football at a super high level, being an impact player? All right, I need to get stronger. One of the coaches, I remember saying something to me, oh, you can run around people. You really don't like contact. And like, for better or for worse, that was a Michael Jordan aspect of how I thought at that time is, all right, I'm going to prove this person wrong. All right, you're on the list. I'm prove you wrong. So I go, the only place you could go lift at that age, like 14, 15 years old, was Export. Get an Export membership. My mom drops me off. I don't have a trainer or anything at that point. I do every machine in there. Every machine straight down, and for hours. Pick me up in like 2.5 hours. For hours. I eat a ridiculous amount of food. Double everything. We're going to go double wrap burrito. We're going to get 2 burritos from Chipotle. We're going to go Portillo's. We're going to get 2 beef and cheddars. And we're going to get smash food all day. I'm going to do whatever it takes where I'm going to be exactly what I want to be. I'm not going to these 7-on-7 camps. And those existed then, and these crazy things. Just, I'm going to outwork every human being possible. This comes through Michael Jordan. This comes through Kobe. For better, for worse. Like, that's where my mind goes with those. At all costs. I don't care about girls at that point. At all costs, we're going to reach this goal. That's where the transformation came. It went from 130 to 190 to 100 that sophomore year. And there's only a little bit of height involved in that. So
That's 60 or 70 pounds in a few months.
Yeah. Like 7 months probably, right? 7 months.
And that's sort of the launching pad of when you become you from a football perspective. You mentioned Kobe and Michael Jordan, which leads to my next question about your mentality. I think people are driven by one of two things. If you think about it like a car that takes fuel, there's clean fuel and there's dirty fuel. There's no doubt in my mind that you run on dirty fuel. Clean fuel is doing something for the sake of doing it, the joy and the passion of doing it. Dirty fuel is somebody pissed me off and I'm going to do everything in my power to cross the names off the list. It's not something we've ever talked about, but to me, it's so obvious having known you so long. Talk about clean fuel versus dirty fuel. And
Definitely dirty fuel. And for better or for worse, I learned it from the dirtiest fuel person of all time in Michael Jordan. That's who I grew up idolizing, watching everything I possibly could on him. Then Kobe's coming along during this time. And all right, this person like said I can't do it. Cool, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna prove them wrong. But I also do it for the love of competition. I learned to love football, but I didn't love football at that point. It was the best opportunity to be successful at a high level and maybe go play college because that was the goal. So like football was my best opportunity. So dirty fuel, I'm going to prove everyone wrong that says I can't do it. Even my high school coach, who I love to this day, at a time my junior year said I'm a D3 player. So okay, even the people that like believed in me, they still got the check mark. You probably did me wrong at some point. But there's the clean fuel. I do love it. I loved the camaraderie of the team. There's nothing better. What it means to be a teammate and learn to be a captain. And now you have leadership responsibilities. So it was a combination. Dirty fuel got me to the point, and then clean fuel kept taking me through. Dirty fuel, not probably. It ended once I stopped playing sport, like football, through the college and then the one training camp and preseason games before I was done with the Bengals. That dirty fuel took me definitely through a lot of that combined with some clean. Now it's definitely more clean fuel. I'm not here trying to prove anyone wrong with it. It's more about I want to do great things, helping people within my job become their best, but that requires me to be my best. I want to be the best coach, trainer, mentor, whatever it might be. Trying to prove someone wrong doesn't take me there anymore. It's turned to clean.
yeah, and I've watched that. You've matured um, enormously in the last, I would say, 10 years. When you were a little kid, there was crying and rage. I don't know if that was innate in you, but I also know there was a list with a shoebox that you would keep names of people who said you couldn't do it or who pissed you off, that you were kind of proving yourself wrong. For a particular time in your life, you mentioned your high school coach, but at some point, when did that start becoming a thing that I need to write this down and that's my fuel when I'm getting up early in the morning and I don't want to work out, but I have to work out because I'm going to prove them wrong.
There was the comment freshman year that started, but I had receipts from before that even if you said something when I may have been like 12 years old, you got back on that list. So it went retroactive to back to when people said I couldn't do things then. So I don't have those things. I don't remember everyone who was on that. There was a handful of people that I love too, and that like were my biggest supporters and sponsors going through life at times. If you made the list, it's not a hit list. It was just you're part of that motivation. The last person that probably would have been on there would have been early college, and that was it.
So you transform yourself sophomore year, you become a standout running back, fullback in high school, but you didn't have the sort of recognition, recruits, or offer letters that someone who would have watched what eventually became your college career would have assumed you had. Do you want to say a little bit about being overlooked coming out of high school and wanting to play college football?
There's an aspect of, all right, I am fast enough as proven, but like not the fastest. And I'm not going to outrun the fastest of DBs, receivers in that sense too, but like on the defensive side, or even the fastest of linebackers. So I understand why I was overlooked, especially from my side now. Maybe if I had been a predominant linebacker, which is where most teams wanted me to play, and had been dominated that position instead of just playing once in a while when in big games, maybe it would have gone a little different there. But I'm still not 6 feet. I'm shy of 6 feet. I have good weight, like my body, but like that could also be looked at negatively because this guy's already developed and maybe his ceiling isn't high. Like his floor is higher than a lot of guys, but his ceiling is a lot lower. So I understand where I was overlooked. Doesn't mean you didn't get put on that list. and I'm going to prove you wrong. But that's definitely how I ended up at Air Force. While I wanted to be in part of the military. Like I liked structure along those lines. I liked like what it could possibly lead to after sport. I wanted more than that football wise. And like Air Force is a really good. They actually win a ton of games every year, but there's a difference between playing in Colorado Springs in that stadium, which is a fine stadium, and playing at Kinnick Stadium, which is arguably one of the loudest stadiums in the country, with only 70,000 relative to 100,000. It's louder in Michigan. Sorry, Michigan people. So playing at the highest level and it wasn't being like part of that. Like you didn't have to be in front of fans, but playing at the highest level with the best competition is what I wanted to do.
Let's go to that point in your life. You're now a freshman in college, or you're at the Air Force Academy. You've gone through basic training. You decide you want to make a move and you want to go to Iowa. Take us through leaving Air Force and going to Iowa. How did you get to Iowa? How did you get on the team? What happened there?
How I left Air Force, after 2 years, you sign your commitment papers where you have to be in the military no matter what. So before that point, you can get out, tons of paperwork. You've talked to all the football coaches. They have to let you out per se. It took a while. Once I got out of there, you couldn't tampering. I don't know if people did it. I'm sure like other teams did it, but most people don't. So I had to get out and get out of my letter of intent. I couldn't reach out to coaches. They couldn't reach out to me. Once I left there, I restarted reaching out to all the coaches, knowing that I'm going to have to walk on. And I'll go through what that means in a second. I basically reach out to the schools, Western Michigan, Iowa, some other MAC schools who were recruiting me, seeing what I could do. I would call Iowa. The coach wouldn't give me his number. So I'd call the front desk where like the college girls work, and they would have to see if Coach Blank is there. And they knew right when they hear my voice, hey, Coach Blank's can't talk right now. Like, all right, I'll call back later. So I don't know how many times I called, which isn't counterintuitive to like my personality of not wanting to bother people. I'm like, this is what I want. So I annoyed enough people. My high school coaches helped. They had connections there where they said, hey, you can try and walk on. You'll be here for spring of 2011. You'll be here for spring and that's it. We can't promise anything past that. Enough said. I'll go. So right when I get there, the only way you can prove yourself, it's off season in the weight room. Cool. This is great for me. I'm going to outwork every person here, whether they're the same age, a freshman or fifth year senior. And I'm going to gain the respect of my teammates and prove myself in there in spring ball. And what a walk on is, you're on the team. You get no scholarship money. You get no meal money at that point before how everything goes now. And that's it. And you're still part of the team, but you're behind every person, basically, on scholarship. And they bring more scholarship guys in every year. If you're going to play on that team and stay on that team, you better outwork every person there. From there, I just continued to work and work and work. The next spring, after you had to sit out a year because it was Division I to Division I, I get a chance. I start last fullback on the depth chart. I end second, third string at the end of that spring ball. So I'm working my way to try and be a fullback at that
As the
point.
last fullback on the depth chart, how many fullbacks?
7 or 8.
So you're number 7 or 8 on a fullback roster.
On a fullback roster going into that spring. And then work my way into summer. One of the fullbacks gets hurt in the summer, who was the number one. So now it's between 2A and 2B, who for fighting for the starting fullback job with me. And I win that job.
How did you jump number 6'5", 4'3"?
Weight room ethic, but like also just on the field. Every rep you take, especially a fullback, is meaningful, and you have a lot of good reps, you move up. Instead of working with the 3s, now you're the number one. And then you work your way to the 2s, where now there's 2 or 3 fullbacks in there, and then you outwork those guys, and then you start working with the 1s as the second one there. You earn reps. You get what you earn, what you put on film. You can't hide. It's scary because whatever you do on there is going to be watched that night or the next day. And if you got emasculated by another large human being, it's for everyone to see, which is good. It keeps you on your toes, and everything that you do matters. I worked my way up to that second spot throughout the training camp leading into that season. Like I'm going to be the starting fullback. I'm going to be on all the special teams and be the starting fullback, because that's what you are. As a fullback, you're not playing nearly as many snaps as your running back, receivers, if you're on defense, playing the whole game. You do those things, and I won that job. That I had proven my abilities that I should be the starting fullback. And you were at the first game I ever played at Soldier Field. Kind of cool. Like the first
Yeah.
game I ever played, the place we dreamed of, where we watched the Bears. We loved the Bears growing up. Pretty surreal experience, especially to have the support of you family there. And then let's say there was 7 fullbacks. Well, there's probably 10 running backs from when I got there. Well, every one of those people, whether they got kicked out, injured, suspended, sick, whatever it might be, we're playing Northern Iowa, and we have 2 running backs on the roster that day. That's it. 2 running backs. I'm the emergency third one. I took a couple goal line reps that week because we had struggled in the goal line at running back, but that's it. During camp, I had played running back and knew the position. I was prepared for it. Did not expect anything from it, though. Just always prepared for something that you might want to do. Well, one guy goes down to concussion. The other one dislocates his arm or elbow. Okay. Well, there's literally no one left that can go in. They don't want this slow white Jewish running back, fullback, I should say, to be the running back of the team. Well, it's the only option, right? It was the only option that was left, and you take advantage of your opportunities. I was nervous as can be at that point. I was prepared physically, mentally, but it's still nervous of, I don't want to let my teammates down. We're playing this team that we really need to beat, and it's a close game. I'm going to be a reason why we win this game, not why we lose this game. I played okay that game. I had fine numbers. I got a couple touchdowns there, but I missed some things probably because of the nerves. I didn't follow my eyes and follow how I'd been trained. From there, I get another opportunity to do even better.
Let me stop you there. I was at the game. It was Northern Iowa, and you got me tickets with some of our friends that drove over from IU. And I remember being right next to your dad, and these running backs, just like one gets hurt, the other gets hurt. I remember one guy getting up, his arm was like hanging, his like shoulder was dislocated. And there was this like a super fan near us, and he like turns to your dad, Mark's going to be in. And your dad's like, what do you mean he's going to be in? He's going to be the next running back. And your dad's, no, he's not. He's a fullback. He's not a running back. Next thing you know, next play is number 45 is in there, and you're taking snaps at running back. And humble as you are, did you have 2 or 3 touchdowns in the rest of that game?
That one I had 3 total.
So
One at fullback, though.
first game is running back or fullback actually playing. You have 3 touchdowns, and then we start the Weisman for Heisman campaign and throughout Iowa City and the Big Ten. So after that game, there's an immediate sense of you were prepared, and maybe that's back to your fear of being embarrassed or being ready. You come onto the spotlight, you establish yourself right away, you turn everyone's head that there's no way that this big, white, Jewish, can only run straight running back can be a Big Ten running back. What happens from there in the locker room with your teammates? You're still the young guy on the team. You're brand new. What happens from there? Is there a teammate, whether it was the quarterback or any veterans who looked at you and said, "Welcome aboard, kid"?
The work that I had done prior to that, in the weight room, in practice, in the film room, they were not nervous for me to be in there. They knew what they were going to get. I had played running back in practice before. I'd done some things that that doesn't make sense why you're doing those things that other people can't see. That will never be shown to other people. But those are the things that are done on a weekly basis. So you prove yourself in practice. And they knew what my work ethic and commitment was, and that I'm not going to let them down, because as much as I'm feared of embarrassment, I'm more feared of letting them down. Vandenberg, quarterback, some offensive linemen on that team were like, hey, man, if James Ferentz, his son, the center's like, yeah, we got your back. Keep doing your thing. We're gonna win some games. You're gonna be all right. So, you had guys which is a void of confidence. It's always good to feel that. I struggle to give compliments. I struggle to take compliments. It's always good to have the backing of your teammates. So,
Absolutely. I mean, from there, you go on to a historic career as an Iowa running back, and I don't know where you're at today in terms of the record book, but you're up there certainly in terms of touchdowns. And as much as you say those things don't mean anything to you, you're certainly in the history books of Iowa football, both in terms of running back and then also life after football as a coach. People can look up your career, and I know you don't like talking about it, but I'm not downplaying. If anything, I'm underplaying the impact that you had, not just on the team, but just sort of throughout the Big Ten, the Iowa community. In Iowa Hawkeye football is everything. Sort of like in Columbus, Ohio, Ohio State. And in some ways, Iowa's football is bigger. So you became an overnight celebrity, larger than life. People who never knew who you were wanted to take pictures with you, and we don't have to get into all of that. I know it makes you embarrassed, but it's a part of your story and it's a part of your life. And it was the same group of friends that we started talking this podcast about, the half a dozen of us. We were at dozens of football games. So those are some of our best memories, is road tripping to Iowa City and sitting in the parent section and going out at night and rooting for the Hawkeyes. So, it wasn't just you. You brought us all along for the ride.
It was a unique experience that I'm grateful for, and grateful to all of you guys for the support. Whether I ever said that or not, it's probably the first time I've ever said that. It's hard for me to give compliments or feelings along those lines. I'm working on that. But what it means, like, to be a Hawkeye, with everything that goes on in football now, Kirk Ferentz is still there. He's been there since 1999. I don't know what the turnover is and how many guys transfer out and what the NIL money is, but I can tell you that a lot of these guys stay at Iowa, whether they can get more money somewhere else. They stay at Iowa, and there's no opt-outs for bowl games. You see all these teams with opt-outs. They want to play with their teammates. They want to play together, and Iowa's a special place. It still is. It was for sure back then, and that was an unbelievable experience and time in my life, and definitely proud of all the work that was done there. Like, there's no real regrets of anything. Like, put it all on the line, whether it was good enough or not at times, but it was it was awesome. It was awesome to experience, I'd say, with all of you guys, family, everything that was there.
That's a good segue. Let's drill down one more layer into Iowa football. I think if Kirk Ferentz was on this podcast, he'd be one of the first to say that Mark Weisman is sort of the emblematic or picturesque Iowa football player. And what I mean by that, they're in the Big Ten, but they don't get the top recruits. Top recruits are going to Ohio State, Michigan, other bigger name schools. I'm talking in your playing days, maybe not today with NIL money and some of the way the games have changed, but Ferentz has got to be the longest tenured coach in a big school, since the 90s. It's how many years is he there?
So 99 to now is what? We're 26, 27 now. So
And that's in a business where job security is you're lucky if you stay 2 years. You're talking about that kind of longevity. He's ingrained in the program and the culture. Can you speak to what it was like? You've seen it. You spent almost a decade of your life living, breathing Iowa football, both as a player and as a coach. What is it about Iowa that can take these lower recruits and still develop them both to be great football players, but also great men, also be an NFL factory? If you look at the number of NFL tight ends that come out of Iowa, it's remarkable. Even in defensive and offensive linemen, you have first round draft picks every year. And these are not the guys similar to yourself that were sought after. And so what is the magic that Ferentz and culture there is breeding to develop these sort of boys into men?
yeah. So I think it starts from the top with him. He runs it similar to what an NFL program is. The expectations, how we do things, like, people are given autonomy, and the fact that if you do not do those right things, you're probably not going to end up there still, just like in NFL. So there's a standard, and there's a culture that's set, and that culture is part of the weight room too, where guys develop in the weight room. They come in at a linebacker might come in at 190 and end at 225, 230, and has significantly grown physically, right? So there's the physical aspect of it. There's a psychological aspect of it where I think they do a pretty good job of getting guys mentally in the right places to be able to handle what Iowa football is. And if not, then guys will probably leave. to be honest. Like, it's not for everybody. Not every program is for everybody. And recruiters make mistakes, players make mistakes. I left Air Force Academy. I made a mistake going there. I thought it was the right thing. So people can make mistakes there. Then you have your technical, where they teach the technique of football, what is going to succeed. They teach leverage. They teach staying in your gaps, playing sound football, not beating yourself. Like, Iowa every year is probably going to be one of the best at turnover takeaway ratio, and being one of the least penalized teams in the country. Not going to beat yourself with that. And the way that you practice the technical aspects of it, the details, doing it over and over and over again, the details of what it is, because you need everyone on the same page. And then you have the tactical aspect of it. Like, that's your in-game adjustments. That's like understanding what the game is, taking away space, gaining space in that game itself. And they do it better than anybody. And they get people to buy in. And most of those people are pretty selfless, where they're there to do what's best for the team. And that's not always easy defensively. Like, that's why Iowa always has one of the best defenses, because they're selfless. It's not about the one guy going out of his way. He might get 15 sacks, but the defense is terrible because they're leaving gaps all over the place when he tries to do that all the time, right? Iowa doesn't do that. They're sound. They don't beat themselves. They don't give up the huge plays. Bend but don't break sometimes, where they might give up 70 yards on a drive and then a goal line stand at the 1 yard line 4 times in a row, and we get the ball back. So there's a toughness to it. There's an actual physicality, technical part of it with football, and then just a belief. It's happened over and over again, and there's no coincidence why it happens every year. They're in every game. No one wants to go playing Kinnick at night, especially if you're a favored top 10 team. Good luck. Even this year, their loss to Oregon. Oregon had to come back on the last drive. Indiana ended the game as well. All their games were super close. Like, you're not going to just come in and roll over the Hawkeyes typically. There's very few games of those.
Well, and what's amazing about that, there's no longevity of players. Every couple of years, the roster's turning over. Ferentz has been consistent, but you're having to repeat and recultivate that mindset generation to generation of a new roster of players that just showed up and just got recruited. And these guys don't even know each other. And, you have a summer or spring camp to make them a team. So sports is often the best microcosm for life and business. And there's so many parallels in leadership. And one of the things I saw you going through, from an outsider, you would think it's all about lifting weights, hitting people in football. But where I saw a lot of your growth and development as a best friend, you were reading books, you were studying leadership, you got into, development. And so as much as there was a culture of technicality in football and being a teammate, I think there was another aspect of this. And this is particular when you were in your strength and conditioning days. You're developing these 18 to 21-year-olds to be, adults and leaders, and football player is part of it, but not the only aspect of it.
Yeah, I think I started a little bit in college, like you're saying, but most of it was as a strength coach. And I would say I wish I had started it earlier, but if I did, I'm not sure how much I would have done with it at that point. Your mind has to be ready for those things. So maybe a couple years earlier, but I think being able to read those things helped me shape who I am as a leader and understand what I am. It's not like this is like changing me and like I am now Jocko Willink, or I am now David Goggins. No, I don't want to be any of those people. I want to be me. But taking what some of those people do and talk about, and leadership can help shape who I am and help others. Because I know if I know who I am and how I can help other people, it's going to benefit them more than it's even going to benefit me. Because now I can, all right, I was in your shoes at one point, especially when I was younger. I know what you're thinking, what you're doing. And I can help you with work ethic. I can help you get physically stronger. But like, there's that mental aspect of like, what are you going through? Like, talking to people, building those relationships. And that's definitely a big focus of what I've done in my professional career now, is like all right, cool. Like I'm going to do all these seminars. I'm going to continue to learn. But the starting point of all of this is building the relationships with your coworkers and the athletes, because it doesn't matter how much you know, unless they know how much you care. It's cliche, but also like showing that, not just saying I care about you, like your actions with it. So I think doing a lot of that professional development really helped, and trying to focus me and not watch junk TV and do those things and sacrifice a lot there with that. Whether I thought I was or not, but it's definitely a sacrifice of personal life that now I have, but I did not have for many years.
Before we get to your professional career with Iowa and now the Cubs, one more thing I wanted to ask you. When you were in your playing days, you were all in, ultra dedicated, and this is sort of tying together the beginning of this podcast conversation about, your ability to go all in on things. When you look back at it now that there's been enough time where that chapter of your life is over, you're a different man, you can look back. Do you have any regrets on it? What I'm curious about is what happened to your relationships, friendships, family during that period of your life? Were you a good friend? Do you have any regrets? You missed a lot of things. You said no to a lot of things. How were you thinking about that or feeling about that at the time? And now that you're a little older and more mature and you look back, what is the wiser 33-year-old Mark look back at I write your name on a list in a shoebox, I'm gonna prove you wrong, Mark. And what are your thoughts on that?
I think the aspect of going all in and being all in, there are no regrets there. And the sacrifices I had to make for that, had to, is what I'm saying. In my eyes, had to make. I think that there's probably times I could have been a better son, a better brother, a better friend within that same realm of it's not going to make me worse. That's not saying, hey, I'm going out and partying all the time. I know that's not what I'm going to do. But I definitely could have like made a couple more things, gone out of my way for a couple more things, and been a little more selfless. I didn't know how to do that. So I can look back now and say all that. I didn't know how to do that at the time. So during the playing days, I'd say there's no regrets. After, I'd say there's definitely some regrets of the fact that I'm done playing now. I still need to be all in on what I'm going to do. I want to be great, but I don't need to have the same commitment level of like, I have to train every day for 3 hours and like do all these things. I'm not an athlete anymore. Right. So I think there's probably a level of regret of I definitely could have done more things socially, friendship wise, family wise, probably those years after leading up to like the pandemic of COVID. And then I've kind of flipped there a little bit and have made some changes and then have continued to grow as probably a human being from then. But I'd say at that point, there probably were some regrets of missing things that I should have made.
I'm not implying one way or the other. I can just speak from my perspective as your friend. I know you've had this sort of ethos or mantra that's guided you, which is the word uncommon. Do you want to say what that word means to you?
Yeah, I'm not going to butcher it. So I have it up. So like, I was like, use it like describing a word is something I'm never really good at. So, but it's like, it's unnatural. What uncommon is unnatural. Uncommon is not anything that's natural. It is has to consciously be thought upon, and it's going above and beyond what's expected of you. That's uncommon in my eyes. Right. And then like if you have like my mantra like of uncommon intent, like intent is having a purpose with everything you do. So it's going above and beyond what's expected of you from yourself and from others, and doing that with a purpose. So I try and live that way no matter what, for good or for bad, mostly for good. And I don't want to be normal. When someone says like, oh, I just want to be normal, I just want to like fit in and be conform and be a part of like what everyone does. I just want to do like, no, I never want to do that. I never
Well,
want to be normal.
Well, I don't know if you've inspired it in me or we've grown up together sharing that similar mindset. You talked about a fear of embarrassment. One of my fears is being normal or being common, just being the average guy that likes the average things and has the dreaded small talk. You and I live different lives, but it sometimes rubs people the wrong way. They might think, "Hey, Mark and Kory, these guys are assholes. They're not interested. Why isn't he like want to get a beer with me?" And it's like I have better things to do. No offense to that person. You might be a great, but I have dreams, ambition, career, and family, and you don't fit in that. I'm not interested in grabbing a beer and small talking about football and whatever else. And you're like that, but times 10. And one of the things I think I would say that all of our friends would agree with, I don't think you should have any regrets with that period of your life. It wasn't like a trap question asking if you thought you were a good friend. You missed a lot of stuff and we didn't see you a lot, but I don't think there was ever a conversation about, man, Mark doesn't like us or, you know, he's choosing football over us or it's just a weightlifting session. Why couldn't he miss that and come to whatever we were doing at that time? The conversation's more, especially as we've had time to look at it, like how great is it that we have a friend that how aspirational he's able to go all in and give us an example for our personal lives, which isn't going to be professional football. But I often think to myself, what would Mark do? I'm sure some of our other friends do that, leading by example, leading from the front. So I think you very much live uncommon. And I don't think you should have any regrets about missing some nights at the bars or whatever it might have been. We're still here and still friends to this day, having the same conversations we would have been 15 years ago before any of this started.
I definitely agree. And I probably like I never would want to have changed who I was or anything like that. And there was definitely no regrets while playing. And that's what I needed to do to be who I was, even if other people, not saying you guys, but if other people didn't see it that exact way. And the people that were most important in my life and still are today didn't think that way. So I was grateful for that and grateful for friends like you that have pushed me to be my best. We've pushed each other to be our best. Like a lot of our friends are really successful in what they do. And I don't think it's by coincidence that we're all still friends because of that too.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I think about our group of friends from being 7 or 8 years old, messing around at, playing basketball to being in our 30s to our careers, our family. And I couldn't be more proud of the group of friends that we have. One, that we've all stayed together all these years, and two, how successful each of us have been in their own right. And I think that's a special thing and part of why we stay together. It's not something we ever talk about or necessarily competitive with one another about, but it's sort of we have this bond that we aren't average guys and we push each other to be better. And I think that's a really cool thing, not just the longevity of the friendship, but sort of the success of the individual people. I know this is more than you and I ever like to talk, especially some 3-hour road trips where we say two words to each other. The chapter of your football is behind you. You're a strength and conditioning coach there for several years. From there, there's a couple different steps. I know there was a stop in Missouri, but if we fast forward to baseball, coming back to when you're the angry pitcher, now you're working with the Chicago Cubs. You want to say what your position is there and what you're responsible for?
Yeah. So I'm a strength and conditioning coach with the Cubs, the major league team. So I've been here since 22. Yeah. Since 2022, I was minor league strength coach at the low A affiliate, then a coordinator for 2 years. And then last year was my first year as a major league strength coach. So work with the major league team, strength and conditioning, throughout the year, in season, like travel with the team, always with them, with the players. And it's a servant leadership job for sure. It's doing whatever it takes to make sure that they're at their best physical capabilities, staying healthy, so all you fans can enjoy them play on a field. And that's what it's a really cool job. I really enjoy it. Being around super high achievers is easy for me and I love it. And when I'm not around that, it's hard for me. So this job fits right in. You have guys that want to be the best in the world, or some of them might already be there. And how do you stay there? And they're all like minded and they are all being judged by a significant amount of people, I'll say the world, every time they go play, and everything is being ridiculed. So it is really hard what they do, and I will do whatever it takes for them and do whatever for them to make sure they're at their best too. And it's a really rewarding job, but it all starts with the relationships. It started the first day I got this job. If I had not known some of them that were on the big league team, it's get to know them, earn their trust, and continue to do those things because it's not easy with them.
Baseball and football are such different sports in so many ways. Baseball, you're failing more than you're succeeding, and you're considered a great player if you 3 or 4 times out of 10, you're having a hit. I can think across both sports. Do you see yourself in any of these younger players in terms of the clean fuel, dirty fuel? Do you see any of these players that are driven and stubborn like you were to be the best? How do you manage those type of players knowing I was you and now I'm the older, more mature version and I can see my younger self?
Yeah, I think definitely in the minor leagues, there's a ton of those because they're young, right? Super young. So I was working there for 3 years with them, and there's a ton of them. And in a sick way, I get along with them sick really, really well because I know them so well. I know who they are. I know a lot of what they're going through mentally. I don't know like their whole life story, but I know what they're going through mentally in sport. On the big league team, there's a lot of mature guys, right? There's a lot of guys similar ages to me. There's some that are older. Average age probably is like 3 years, 2 or 3 years younger, 3 years younger, let's say. So, but there's a couple young guys, and I try and like I get along with those guys pretty well because I try and help them and get them over a hump of maybe where I was in life and how I thought of things, but not taking away who they are because who they are is what makes them great too.
Right.
So it's how do you channel your greatness and your competitiveness and your anger and your emotions. And it happens naturally in conversation when they're working out, when they're just messing around, like rolling around the weight room, whatever it might be. Like those conversations just naturally happen. It's not like I'm their therapist, like I'm not qualified for that, but it is a therapy in its own way of getting things off their mind. And whatever they say is like between us, unless they want me to tell anyone, because that's how I believe in life and everything is like, I don't want any, if I'm telling you something, I'm telling you for a reason. I don't want other people to know. Otherwise I'll tell them to. So that's probably why like some relationships with the players like go really well is because like there's that trust.
I want to talk about, if you're comfortable with it, Israel, your faith. You both grew up Jewish, but particularly you had the opportunity to go to Birthright together. So you and I went to Israel for the first time when we were, what, 25 or so, or 27.
Yes.
I I loved it. We all loved it that we're on the trip together, but I saw something that really changed in you. And then you kind of came back to normal life for a while in the US. And do you want to speak a bit to Israel, the culture, your wife? Why did it hit you in the heart so much? And tell your story about Israel and how it's shaped, changed. It's a long-winded question, but if I take a step back while you're thinking about it, you have chapters of your life. Growing up and sports is such a big part of your life. I'm really looking at this next chapter as, you know, family, Israel, faith, culture, heart, Raheli. You want to speak to that and how much that's changed the trajectory of your life?
Yeah. And I do think it did start at the birthright. So you know me, I was not religious whatsoever, right? I got through Hebrew school because I had to, and like that's what was expected of me. And then after my bar mitzvah, that was it pretty much. Right. So like it wasn't about the religion. And we go to Birthright and it's like, cool, like this is something we should do. Right. This is our last chance. We are all older. To the four of us that went, that were friends. And so I'm going, it's like, this is gonna be an awesome vacation. It's gonna be great to be with you guys. And when you get there, the joy of the people, we do this weird dance. Yossi's our guy, like we was like Yoshi or whatever it was. They kept calling him. Um, so we get there and we go to Golan Heights, which is amazing. Um, and we continue to do these things. We're in the kibbutz, we go to the Holocaust Museum, and we go to the cemetery and see these lone soldiers there. what a lone soldier is, that it is someone from the United States, Jewish from the United States or anywhere in the country, that goes and fights in the IDF and fights for this. To me, there was this like guilt. I'm Jewish. I'm proud of being Jewish, religious or not. I'm not fighting to keep our survival. Right there, wanted to join the IDF and thought about it. I probably didn't do it for whatever reason. I don't know exactly why, but there was a significant, strong thought to do that right there. And I'm not going to say regrets because I love like where my life has gone since and like come full circle, but like I wish I would have done that, dropped everything and done that. And then we come back to the States and like I still feel this way for a while. But then like it goes away a little bit. I'm back to my life. I'm in Iowa. There are very few Jewish people in Iowa. So like to live that culture is not realistic, let's say. I go to Missouri, all these things. And then October 7th happens, 2023. And it's one of those things like most, like even if you are Jewish, it might not be that way unless you're from Israel. That morning with two of our friends, Jake and Brian and Mal, we're hiking. And after we get back down, we get service. I start hearing some things. We don't really know what's going on, anything. You hear a little something, like there's some conflict. Okay, that happens all the time. It's Israel, right? Go to the Arizona State football game, all of us, and like I start getting more information. Jake starts pulling a couple things up. Another one of our friends, Steve, who is more religious, starts texting me, seeing what's going on. I stop watching the game, start looking at what's going on, and it just felt like something never before. It felt like 9/11, but I was mature. Like 9/11 or fourth grade. And there was this strong feeling of like hate and remorse and sadness just overall from it. And I couldn't get it out. I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, I couldn't get it out of me. And I just hear story after story. And I'm just consuming myself. Like I work, I go to work, do my job, and I'm consuming myself with this. And I'm like, all right, I can't live this way. I'm good. I need to go do something. So we go to the Chabad, like we do our things, like trying to be Jewish, right? Being around Jews, being Jewish, having Shabbat dinners. It was amazing. It's unbelievable. And I'm doing everything I can to like reach out. I reached out to the US government. Hey, like I want to help out there. Like, what can I do? Can I go fight? I reach out to all the IDFs, everything. I'm like, I'm going. Like, if you're going to let me go, I'm going to go. They didn't, like, I couldn't really get much response there. And like the ones that I did are like, oh, we don't need help. Or like, do you speak Hebrew? Don't speak fluent Hebrew. Okay. 31 or whatever age I was at that point. Like you're 30, 31 years old. Like, it's too late, like to do some of this. So I still keep trying. Then I get an email that goes to my spam promotions on Gmail. And it's about through Birthright, there's this volunteer program. You can go 2 or 4 weeks and you can go farm. And they explain why the farming is important is because a lot of the farmers were Thai and they all went home, or they were from Gaza and you're not allowed back in now. So they're super shorthanded and they need help. I'm there. I email them right away. Luckily, at this time, the Cubs, they were in a dead period. Like, there was no players that were going to come into complex. This one, I was a minor league coordinator. Sweet. This works out perfect. Even if it didn't, I was going. But it didn't have to come to that conversation. So I go out there and I actually get to be in Israel. When we went in Birthright, you're not there. Like we just get like shipped from place to place to place. You don't actually get to experience what it is. And just from the start, I'm at JFK and I'm at the airport and I haven't wrapped tefillin like in my life ever. And there's a guy there's like, we want to wrap tefillin. I'm like, yes, right now. Like, I don't even know what this is really, to be honest. I kind of do, but I don't know what it is. And like, do it, say the Shema, and I don't know, just everything from there. We get there and we start doing the volunteering, and like, I don't even know how much we're helping or not, but I feel like I am. And I feel like just being there, and this is what the people would say too. It's just like being there and knowing that like we've got your back. Like the Jews of this world have the back of Israel, whether we're from the United States or not. We care and we're going to do whatever it takes to help, no matter what. Fly across the world, do whatever. And like during this time, like our soldier from Birthright, who we still kept in touch with. I reach out to him and like I go to dinner with him, his wife, and then his brother. And like I'm like, hey, like I could live out here. Like, do you know anyone like in like strength and conditioning or like anything like the Olympics? And his brother is at university playing rugby, and he knows all these like strength coaches, like the main guys there. I'm like, puts me in contact with them. One thing leads to another, and like I'm in contact with these people. I'm trying to set up a life out there. While this is going on, I meet a girl. We become like friends. At first, there's a group of us, and then it's a little flirting here and there. Let's say half the group leaves who were friends with us. Two, they all leave. And we're kind of like the last ones left. And she's Israeli. She helped in the farms a little bit, but she was basically there to make sure we all don't do anything really stupid and hang out with us at night after we're done farming and like just like show us Israel. One thing led to another, start seeing each other. Call my mom, hey, this person could be the one. Like, she's what I'm looking for. I didn't go out there looking for a wife, but my heart and my mind were open. I text my brother a week later. We're dating. This girl and I now are dating Raheli, who is now my wife. I asked my brother, I'm like, hey, I need my birth certificate. If I need your birth certificate, don't worry, just get my birth certificate. He can't find it. And he's like, do you want me to ask mom? No, I will ask her. So I asked her. She texted me, are you trying to make Aliyah with 15 million question marks? And Aliyah means you are going to move to Israel, become a citizen of Israel. You'd still have dual citizenship. Like you're basically being Jewish. You are given that right that you can move to Israel. And Aliyah is that word for that. So, and I have to call my mom and tell her, I don't know. There's a possibility. I'm going to see what the options are. And one thing leads to another. I have a job set up out there and I'm coming back to make Aliyah. And the job I had set up was with a basketball team. It was a private facility first, then a basketball team. I'm coming back there to make Aliyah. I wanted to do this before I had met Raheli, but this solidified it that I'm doing this and I'm 100% doing this. Get it done. I get out there and like, we start like truly like dating and being around each other. And I would never have left, and I still love Israel more than anything, and it will be home at some point in our life again. But there was an opportunity to come back to the States, and if Raheli had said, I have no chance, no way, we're not doing it, I wouldn't be here right now. But she was all for it and supportive of it and wanted to do it. So she came back with me, back to the Cubs. We had this opportunity still, and we still do Shabbat dinners almost every Friday. I'm much more religious. I'm definitely spiritual, religious, but it's more about the people, the state of Israel. I didn't understand what Zionism was. It was like such a negative word for whatever reason. And still now people think that way. It's the most beautiful word there is. The right for Israel and the Jewish people to exist. So I'm 100% Jewish. I'm proud of it. And proud of the culture and the values it brings. And I never thought I would be here at this moment in my life having a wife and hopefully having a family. And I'm so excited for all that and continuing on traditions, Jewish culture, my values, her values, everything. It's one of those points in life. There's a point in life where life changes. I've had many. The Birthright trip, the first one, was the start of it. That didn't culminate until I went back October 7th. So it's a sad and sick feeling that October 7th is the reason why my wife and I are married. Sometimes we think about that and it's crazy and like, but everything happens for a reason. Good, bad, evil. It's what you do after those things and how you make the best of those things. And I wouldn't change anything about how my life has gone now. And I'm excited for future and it's a blessing.
One of my favorite sayings is life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. And, that's sort of been a common theme throughout your life, particularly in I can't remember who I told, but maybe my wife Blair at the time. I don't even know if we were married at the time we went to Israel, but the story you told about, I watched you, and shout out to our friend, our buddy Gal, our Israeli brother, Gal, our first soldier we met when we got off the plane, but watched you in that cemetery. And I really thought in my gut, Mark is coming back from Israel and he's joining the IDF and he's getting on a plane and going back to Israel. And I think I told my friends and family that, and I saw that shift in you. And it's been amazing to watch the evolution of it. And while October 7th, a horrible, horrible tragedy, the beauty in that is you did meet your wife, Raheli, and it's the first time when you were moving to Israel, you called me, and you never call me, back to the small talk. You don't call me. You have a dog. I don't ask you how your dog is doing. You don't ask me how our kids are doing. That's not our relationship. And I wouldn't change it, but you call me and I'm like, oh, something must have happened or be serious. You call me, hey, just want to let you know I'm moving to Israel. When you going? It was Friday. I'm going Monday. Oh, nice. And it's the first time you said, and actually I'm not going to try to meet somebody, but I'm open to it. You in 30 years have never once said that I'm looking or open to meeting someone. And Blair, my wife, said to me, he's going to meet his wife there. And it all comes full circle. So thank you for sharing that. I want to end this by saying one of my favorite memories, it was 2010. We were graduating high school. We're in my dad's basement. You're going to Air Force. And, you were like a rock, like a vault. And I was like, we've been best friends for however many years at that point. We're going to be best friends for many more years. At some point, I'm going to crack you open and get you to open up. And, it might have took 16 years, but
That's
thanks
right.
for finally sharing your story.
It was amazing. Awesome to do this and talk and have like check off one of the bucket list things that we can do is be on a podcast together.
I mean, we
So,
always said back before podcasts were a thing,
yeah.
it'd be fun to have a podcast and have some of these conversations. Thanks for doing it. Get back to the Cubs, send Raheli our love, and I'll see you when I see you.
See you when I see you.